What's up, everyone? Good afternoon. I was gonna say good morning. It's totally afternoon, dude. Welcome to News, Games, and More. I am Sydney Goodman, and I'm joined by a lovely panel of folk. We've got Seth Macy.
Hello.
Hello. He informed me right before, like seconds before we started, that Macy's is apparently going out of business, but that is not his namesake, so don't worry about it. And then we got Janet Garcia.
What's up?
Hello. And Stella Chung.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, hello. Alrighty, let's cut to the chase. Nvidia, they unveiled their next-gen graphics cards, and we were talking about this during, like, when we were setting up. I'm feeling a bit ripped off because there are some solid deals in there. But also, their highest card, the 3090, is $1,500. So much money. Oh my goodness. But it's also really good. So the new GeForce RTX 3080 and RTX 3070 were unveiled, but also there was an introduction of the 3090, which is a triple slot graphics card with more than 10,000. It's either CUDA or CUDA, not sure, cores, 24 gigabytes of video memory. And oh my gosh, I don't know if, I feel like most of us probably watched it, tuned in, saw Twitter clips of it, but their CEO, Jensen Huang, is a gem. Such a big fan. He was pulling graphic cards out of his stove or oven. I don't know. It was a stove with an oven underneath. But it was fantastic. Let's see. So the 3070 is the lowest end card that was shown off, and it is actually faster than the current 2080 Ti, according to Nvidia, and it's way cheaper. Holy wow. It's really cool to see technology become more affordable to more people. So Seth, I know that you're a PC person?
Yes, I enjoy the PCs.
Okay, I just know that you played Flight Simulator, and to me, people who play Flight Simulator like know a lot about PCs. Not sure if that's true, but how are you feeling about this? I mean, it's a cool announcement. I'm excited as a casual PC owner.
Yeah, I'm super excited, especially when they announced those prices, because I did not think that I would be staring down the barrel of upgrading my computer again, because the 3070 is faster than a 2080 Ti. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a better card, but it runs faster for $499 as opposed to what I was anticipating was going to be like I was anticipating the 3080 was going to be like $1,000. They were going to have one below that, like $700. And I definitely didn't see the BF GPU come out of there. But yep, my old computer, it is almost 2 years old. So it's like, it's embarrassing. I gotta upgrade this thing.
Why would you even say that on here? That's so embarrassing, Seth.
Hey, I gotta
be. Oh my gosh, disgusting. No, but real quick. So again, I've established myself as someone who is a casual PC enthusiast. However, I don't understand a lot of this stuff. Gonna be frank. But so you mentioned that while the 3070 is faster than the 2080, it's not necessarily as good of a graphics card. Can you kind of like expand on why that might not be the case?
I mean, it's very hard. We have to take everything that they told us with a grain of salt, because this was obviously a marketing focused announcement.
Mhm.
So, they showed the 3090 running 8K at 60, and they kind of told us that the 2080s were going to run 4K at 144 hertz with no problem. And that PC game is just such a complicated thing. There's so many levers that you need to pull. So under optimal conditions, it will run faster, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get better graphical performance. But it's so subjective,
Yeah.
I like great, but I also like good graphics too. So my explanation is we have to wait and see. So
wait and see. We will.
Bo Moore and Kevin Lee, who will most certainly be putting these through the paces.
So Stella, I know that you're also like quite the PC, lots. I was gonna say aficionado, but I feel like that doesn't necessarily get across the fact that like you have like a knowledge base. But so what are your thoughts on this? I know they showed some gameplay. Like, did you find it really impressive? As somebody, because I'm just going off of like, I am so easily impressed by good graphics and by like big numbers. And I'm trying to like understand if that is grounded in actual truth or just me being easily impressed.
I mean, I don't know. I just got the 2060, so I'm kind of biased because I'm a little bit irritated that this came out and is affordable. Because I'm just like, I just got the 2060 and now you're telling me I can get something else. Like, that's way better. Oh, they're showing the Fortnite thing. So they said Fortnite with, what is it? Oh my God. What is it? Yeah, ray tracing. I'm like, that is so unnecessary, but I get it. So I think it's really cool. I think all the graphic stuff they're showing off is really cool. But for me, I'm just like, unless I'm playing like Cyberpunk, I don't feel like I really need it for like FPS games. I'm more over like fast, like being able to get the most FPS. So if they could show me like, I think they did, didn't they? They said it runs at 8K 60 FPS, which to me is the most impressive part. I need all my frames. So yeah, I think that's the part that really gets to me. But I'm still kind of pissed because I just got the 2060. So
No, I
I
totally
love how
get
you
that.
all made these purchases at equally bad times. Like the coordination, yet lack of coordination, is stunning. Like, what are the odds? On that note, like, when you guys do decide to upgrade your PCs? Because I'm someone that always just does like it's already built. I'd say my first new gaming PC that I got was like 2 years ago, and then I ended up leaving that to my brother, and I had to buy another one. And I just buy the ones that are like already made, and I'm like, streaming PC, click, okay, we're gonna pay what it costs and just be done with it, and not learn about the nitty gritty on like adjusting the parts and figuring out and making it really your own, which is definitely an appeal of it. But for me, I'm like, I just need a machine that can survive, like the next gen and deal with everything and like for work and all that. But as far as you guys who do go ahead and get into like the nitty gritty of changing out parts or upgrading or following this, how do you decide when to upgrade? Does it follow the console cadence for you, or do you just do it whenever? Do you like how is it when it breaks? Like what is that based on?
I'm laughing because I'm actually really curious to hear Seth and Stella what you guys' answers are, because like I said, I don't give myself very much respect in the PC realm, and I'm really pathetic. So I literally wait until like it's dying day. If I like,
oh my god, that's what I do.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
That's what I do.
Because like I couldn't run Rainbow Six Siege to a point where I could actually like see my opponents and like be competitive. And so at that point, I knew it was time to upgrade. But it was like I probably should have upgraded a long time ago.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, I use mine for streaming and gaming. So as long as it can run streaming at the same like quality that I can game it at, then that's fine, which is why I did the 2060 upgrade. I was like, oh, it's perfect now. But now that with all this stuff, I'm just like, maybe I should just build a new PC, because I've had mine for like 4 or 5 years. So it's lasted a while. So I'm just like, you know what? I deserve this.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. Seth, I'm curious about you though.
Well, the computer that I have now, I decided to upgrade from my previous because I just happened to like cash out of this small business that I was running, and I had enough to build a new computer. It was a very small business, but so that was my deciding factor then. But now, Flight Simulator looks real good, but I know it could look way better. And so I did actually upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM. I'd only been running 16 because I wanted to get as much RAM in there as possible. But now these new cards are out, so I'm trying to figure out like what can I auction off on eBay to build. And I'm not joking. I am going through my collection of.
Oh my god.
I'm like, I mean, I respect it. Yeah, so it's funny because I didn't realize that 5 years is like really old in PC world.
Oh, it's a million years old.
And my streaming PC is 6 years old. And I just upgraded the RAM, and I feel so spoiled. I had 8 gigs in there. I had 8 gigabytes of RAM on my streaming PC.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But we're up to 32 now. So it's like a whole, it's amazing. Yeah. It's so good. But so Janet, is there anything that would, we're going to talk about how this compares to next gen consoles in just a second, but I'm curious, Janet, is there anything that could like turn you to, well, no, you just got a PC. What turned you to getting a PC versus staying on console?
You end up needing it for like if you do any video editing. I mean, it's a boring answer, but like doing video editing, doing shows like this, it just feels like I want the safety of I know this works. I know it can handle current gen and next gen games, and I do actually like streaming. So I'm like, okay, I know it can handle streaming. I can have multiple like there's certain things that like if you want to partake in the gaming space that you just can't really do super easily without a PC. I know it is technically possible to stream off a laptop, but it's just that thing is going to be burning, like burning hot. So for those reasons, I basically got a PC. That's basically my only draw. I do occasionally dip in for exclusives, and I do want to do that more because one thing that really appeals to me about PC gaming, which I feel like doesn't really fit into this idea of the best graphics or 8K gaming or having like the best frame rate or whatever, is just that there are so many games that only come to PC or take so long to come to console. Like I make this joke on NBC all the time where Tom Marks is like super knowledgeable about indie games, and he's always like, this came out 12 years ago on PC, and like it's just always like the first wave is PC. What's interesting in this conversation too is like we've been talking about next gen for so long, and I feel like PC, we've never really like accounted that as part of it or thought about like what does next gen PC gaming look like. So for me, this was just an interesting look at PC is always ahead, so it's like, oh, you think the PS5 and the Series X are going to be amazing? Like, what is PC gaming going to look like if it was already leaps and bounds above consoles to begin with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a really good point. So it perfectly segues into the lovely Bo Moore, who is he technically our tech editor?
Executive editor of tech at IGN.
There you go. He's a man who knows his stuff. And he wrote up an article about how the new graphics cards actually compare to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I mean, the surmise of it is like he does do a wonderful breakdown that I'm going to attempt to kind of bullet point right now, but I do really recommend going to IGN and reading the article. But basically that raw power is only one part of the equation, but the RTX 3080 says that it has 3 times the real world performance of the PS5. So in his exact words, it said it's pretty clear that these GPUs aren't giving consoles a leg up, meaning the GPUs in the consoles. And PC gaming will likely continue to offer more power than Sony and Microsoft's dedicated machines, provided you have the cash to burn. So sorry, I'm all over the place because I didn't take these bullet points out of the article, but it's fine. But he basically goes on to say that if you're on the fence between a PC upgrade or a new console, to maybe keep waiting, because not only are Nvidia's mid-range Ampere GPUs are still coming, but AMD's new cards are also coming, and there's only so much that we know about this because this is a marketing situation. So similar to what Seth was saying, they're telling us best case scenario, they're telling us optimal scenario, not necessarily how it might run in like real life and what the games might look like in real life. So I think that's really interesting because it goes back to what Janet was saying in terms of PC kind of lives in its own like vertical in a way, because we're talking about how exciting the console generation, it is bringing all of this to a new generation, it's bringing all of this tech into a new generation of consoles, but PC gaming has had really incredible graphics for a while. I don't have a follow-up question for this, so if anybody wants to chime in about how good the graphics are, that'd be really helpful for my job. But no, but seriously, I think PC gaming is very fascinating, and I want to go off on a tangent and talk about the differences between PC gamers and console players. So, but we won't go into too deep of a tangent. So really quick, Stella, I know you're somebody who plays both. Do you notice a difference in maybe the expectations or the way that people approach games? Because from my angle, I feel like PC gaming is just a lot more hardcore.
Yeah, I definitely would say that. I think PC gaming is more about it's more about showing off your specs, right? Because you put all of your work into building this machine that's supposed to last few years. I think future-proofing is a lot of like what people say, at least in the streaming world. They're just like, yeah, we want this to last for a long time, maybe change out a few parts. With PC gaming and console gaming, I don't know, it's hard to say because like there have definitely been competitive players on like Xbox and PS4 forever, but I think with PC, like there's just this like thought of, oh, because they built this PC, they're more competitive. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like the general consensus though, or the general thought about PC gaming is that people are just more intense about all their games because they build their rigs to get like the most like the craziest quality and like whatever else they want out of games. So I don't know.
There's more of like an emotional buy-in, I feel, especially if you're trying to build a PC by yourself. I mean, I won't lie. My janky PC that's super old, never getting rid of it. It's my baby. Can't do it. Even we have like a junk case that whenever we trade out parts, we'll put our older parts in that PC so we have an extra one just in case. Because this is telling too much. I have therapy after this. Like I emotionally attached to everything. Like this is too much. But let's move on. So, oh my gosh, wow, what a mess the first one is. You guys don't tell my bosses. Okay, so PS5 developers talked about the benefits. Speaking of marketing speak, PS5 developers talked about the benefits of SSD and 3D audio in this next gen hardware that we still don't know release date or price or pre-order about. But we have plenty of marketing speak from them. So basically, it was posted on the PlayStation blog. Sony had kind of their developers talking about the application of these new, the new specs. So this touting the speed of the SSD. Spider-Man Miles Morales director Brian Horton discussed the PS5's near instant load times, improvement to fast travel, and the ability to quickly load and display more detailed assets. Devs also talked about the 3D audio tech, which is much harder to demonstrate given its experiential nature. And then Guerrilla Games, oh no, I'm going to just completely butcher this man's name and I feel so bad. Mathis de Jong, I would assume, explains specifically how the 3D audio will be used, which I think is actually really helpful because I just keep hearing 3D audio and I'm like, okay. So we'll be able to play sounds in a way that players will be able to locate the machines around them with greater ease, which is great for situations in which you find yourself surrounded or just want to sneak on machines. So Janet, what are your thoughts on this? I feel like I've seen this before from Sony.
Yeah.
Like they just keep kind of giving us these like developer hits. How do you feel about this being a marketing strategy? Do you think it's actually helpful to consumers? Am I just being cynical?
I think it's interesting. And I do think, though, when we think about consumers, that's such a wider market than like us. Like the people that are reading the PlayStation blog are not going to be like, obviously those people might buy a PlayStation 5, but where they're really selling is going to be people outside of that. So I do think they're speaking a little bit more towards the like hardcore gamer, for lack of a better term. And to me, I define that based on how much you consume the news and it has nothing to do with how much you play or how well you play. It's more of like, how much do you follow gaming news and gaming culture and gaming content, like watching shows like this? I would consider that part of that market. As far as that audience, I think it's nice that you get something at least a little bit more concrete. I do think that Sony's finally moving away from really like jargon heavy stuff when it comes to marketing their machine and onto stuff that's a little bit more familiar feeling. Like I think having, the people working on Horizon Zero Dawn, the next game, which is a game people are excited about, it makes sense to do that and have an example like that because people have played that game before, like the first one at least, and they have an idea of, okay, this is the way that like I can get excited about it, and it gives people things to latch onto. However, there are things that are just sort of impossible to convey just solely through writing. I mean, you can try really hard, and that is, I think, the challenge of just game coverage in general. You're trying to convey what something feels to someone who's not playing it or experiencing it. But something like audio, like you can tell me that it's really good and that I'm gonna like sense where things are, but until I really get it and we have more critics and consumers talking about their experience with it and experiencing it themselves, like it's still sort of an arm's length thing. It's a nice little detail in short, but it's not anything that's going to move the needle for me, only because, cool, so far I know that your audio's better. I'm here for better audio. I hope it ends up being utilized really interestingly, but you can tell me about it all you want. I'm not really gonna, I'm as excited as I'm gonna get. Like I've hit my threshold for it personally.
Oh my gosh, the threshold. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm on my threshold, if we're being honest. So Seth, how are you feeling about the benefits of SSD and 3D audio? Do you feel like it's like, are you stoked? You look excited.
I mean, I'm
faster loading times, man.
I'm a real old man, so I've been through this before. I actually looked up, in the lead up to the PS2, I looked up some Sony marketing stuff, and it was almost like the exact same language and like go into developers and be like, the emotion engine on the PS2 is going to change everything, man. You don't even know. I mean, these people look like they're actually conveying emotions, and they didn't. Look, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5. They don't need to sell it to me. I'm going to buy an Xbox Series X. I'm probably going to upgrade my PC. I make a lot of bad financial decisions, so just like lean into that. Reward me for being bad with money and just give me a price and a pre-order date. That's all any of us want at this point. I mean, nobody's on the fence right now, and they're like, 3D audio. Yeah, that's it. I just made me hell of a Xbox. I'm getting it now. Like everyone knows. We all know. We're getting the PlayStation 5. Everybody's getting a PlayStation 5. Even people who don't like PlayStation are getting a PlayStation 5.
It's true.
I
It's
know.
true. I'm a reluctant PlayStation fan, and I'm getting a
Ooh.
PlayStation 5.
There you go. See,
I love my PlayStation. I am always tried and true to Xbox because again, I have emotional attachment issues, and that's the first console that I really attached to. But so Stella, how do you feel about this? I feel like, I mean, in general, but also part of our headline on here, or like the little byline, was a quote that was more or less like levels are going to like video game levels are going to disappear because of how quick these load times are, which I guess in the scheme of open world, like we have kind of seen them become less and less like very clear, you're in this level and then you move on to the next level, etc. But how do you, this is kind of a tough question, so it's okay if you want to answer a question you make up by yourself, but where do you see the direction of video games going as a result of this new tech? Like, do you have like any wish list items based on hearing that the potential?
Not off the top of my head, but when they did the Jack and Daxter thing, like, or no, wait, was it? No, Ratchet and Clank. Sorry, wrong franchise.
wrong mascots.
Yeah. when they showed that off and like the transitions were seamless from point to point. There were so many different like particle effects happening. I was really impressed. I want more of that. I just got finished playing God of War, and like certain sequences, I could tell were loading screens, like secret loading screens, right? Like you have to walk through this tunnel and it keeps you walking through really slowly and it's just like loading you in. And I was like, oh, that's very smart. And I think developers have done a good job of using the tech that they have. So honestly, I'm just interested to see how creative they'll get with this, since this kind of opens up like the different boundaries they can have now. I don't know. As far as the SSD thing, I'm excited for that because I feel like every PC builder has that, and that's just like kind of.
I got 3.
Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Okay, Seth, we get it. You spend money on tech. Cool guy.
Right. Only the coolest.
Yeah, no, SSDs are great, so I'm really excited. 3D audio, I genuinely don't know what that is, but if developers use that right and get their audio stuff.
Okay, Stella, I'm so glad you admitted you don't know what it is. You guys, I don't know what it is. So I thought, so I play with Astros, right? These aren't Astros, but usually like when I'm playing games, I use my Astros, and it's like, oh, what he's describing in terms of like in Warzone, I can hear somebody coming up behind and I can pinpoint that it's behind me. How is that different?
It's not. It's just better. That's just the idea of it being better. Like that's essentially it. And the idea of 3D audio too. And I'm worried to misspeak because I really don't like have this really intensive high level understanding of how like spatial audio works. But it reminds me of like sometimes you have a phrase for something, but it doesn't actually like the words don't actually mean what they're set up to mean. Kind of like how the HD rumble. Like there's no such thing as high definition rumble. They just call it HD rumble because when you say HD rumble, we get that it means a better rumble, even though the phrase HD is supposed to be for like visuals and not for feeling. I think 3D audio is very similar in the sense that it's this idea of it just being really like well designed and like spatial audio that you can recognize even if you have like lower quality headsets. Like that idea of not needing to get like the best peripherals in order to be able to enjoy what the console is capable of is essentially like what I take away from it. Plus there were those like, I know we had the whole scan your ear thing. I don't really know if that's how that's going to play a role or how prevalent that will be or what. But other than that, I think it's just like an expansion on what already exists and like how it's going to be better. A lot of next gen does feel like it's more, we had generations where you've had really big leaps like 2D to 3D and things like that. Here it feels a lot more like just a better version of what we already have, which I think is exciting, but it's a little bit there's not really as much of a gimmick, I feel like, with this one. So it makes it a little bit harder to sell, quote unquote, even though, people like me and Seth and a bunch of other people are just going to buy it anyway. So you don't even have to sell it. I would just like to buy it. Where can I buy it? Please let me buy it. Yeah, that's essentially like my takeaway from it. So we'll see, will the haptic feedback be super, groundbreaking? Will the adaptive triggers matter? Or will it just be a thing that you used in like 2 games and then you're like, it's okay.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, kind of these marketing terms that companies use when launching a new generation. And then there's like a few games right at launch that take full advantage of it. And after that, you're like, okay.
Right. In the chat, Soylencer says it's called 3D audio because it supports height channels now. So you can like hear if something's above you or below.
Oh, so I can hear if somebody's gonna assassinate me while they're
That's what he's
prone
saying, or they are
or
saying.
while they're standing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's actually
they say even cheapo Vizio bars have height channels now. Look at Dolby Atmos or DTS:X. If you're into graphics, you should be into sound. Great.
Wow.
wait,
Wow.
isn't Dolby
There's another
Atmos
thing
like
I'm
really
buying.
expensive?
Shh.
That's what
I
they use at the
can
movie
confirm it.
theaters for the like
Just-
the all over sounds.
We just upgraded our sound system downstairs and it's expensive. At least whatever my husband picked out, it
Therefore,
was
it's
not.
good. That's just how it works with
So
tech.
he gets the audio. See, we're two sides of the same coin. Anyways, speaking of PlayStation, not really saying too much about new information. Neither did Microsoft, but they are seemingly open to admitting that the Xbox Series S is real. So Xbox Series S, aka Project Lockhart, is what it was named prior to the S kind of. It's weird. There's been a lot of mention of the S. So this particular instance was a Game Pass Ultimate trial voucher sent to an Xbox gamer with a replacement for their broken console. Explicitly states the service works, quote, with Xbox Series X/S. And then I want to say it was last week, there were controllers that were the Xbox Series S controllers.
Yep.
But the fact that they have printed this on, consumer-facing products, Xbox, like it feels like it's happening. Janet, how do you feel about the fact that Microsoft, this feels kind of like a mess to me. I mean, it's not that egregious, but it just feels very disorganized. How are you taking it?
Everything is not as it should be in the year of 2020. And this is just one of the many things that are like that. I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't know if they've decided that they don't want to, or that they're not going to release the SKU simultaneously. Like, I feel like there has to be some rationale as to why we haven't heard about this product. If the product is supposed to come out in November, like alongside the console, that's a really long time to not know about it. Especially when we already have like the PlayStation 5, which I think pretty much everyone was surprised that they had 2 SKUs. Like, that wasn't a rumor, it wasn't a request, it wasn't anything. It just kind of appeared, and we're like, oh, okay, well, I guess they have 2 SKUs as well. But it's funny that we kind of thought of that as well when we don't actually know what Microsoft is doing with this. Yeah, I don't really know what the strategy is here. Like, I feel like it's like that the classic, it's a bold strategy. See if it pays out. I have no idea like what price point, how it would differ, like what, like I feel like I haven't been given time to decide what product I want because I don't know anything about the other product. So it's just I can't figure out why they haven't announced it. But I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I mean, technically it doesn't exist. It only exists in
our hearts and our souls.
Yeah. But actually, I also realized prior to us jumping into the conversation, I did not mention what the Xbox Series S is because I assumed that at this point we all knew what it was. But it is basically the supposed kind of like lower price, but also lower, I'm losing the word, like lower spec version of the Xbox Series X that has been teased for a while now. Stella, how are you feeling about would you get the Xbox Series S over the Xbox Series X? I feel like you're a graphics person, so maybe not, but
no, I mean, especially if this isn't going to be out at launch, like it doesn't make any sense to get that one, right? Like if it had something different about it, like if it was portable, kind of like the Nintendo Switch and the Switch Lite, then maybe, but that doesn't seem like that's what it is. So in my opinion, I would not get it because it doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah. What would the price differential have to be between the two in order for you to feel like it would be worth getting like a lower version of the Xbox Series X?
Okay, hold on.
Less capable.
Chat needs to hold on because I'm going to blow everyone's minds with my conspiracy theory, which I have on every show that I'm on.
Oh, God.
The Xbox Series S is an updated, basically, it's going to be a version of the existing Xbox One X. It's going to be an updated 4K machine. And I think Xbox hasn't mentioned anything about it because that's going to be their like ace in the hole. That's going to be, they're going to come out with that and they're going to say it's $299 and people are going to lose their minds and they're going to win the holiday. That is my crazy, completely baseless conspiracy theory. But
I like it.
It's just an Xbox One X with newer technology that's going to be.
They just changed the letter on the end.
Yep. That's all. They just
use all the same boxes.
They recall them. They scrape the little X off there with a putty knife, and they have somebody whose job it is to just adhere a little letter S to every console. Yep.
I think that is the awkward part, though, right? Because it's like, how are you more powerful than how you're less powerful than the Series X, but more powerful than what we currently have. Like, how is it going to be something that people want to get?
I'll tell you why. Because you can't get
They
an
discontinued
Xbox
an
One X
Xbox.
anymore. They
Yeah.
discontinued it, and the ones that are still like left in stock are like supremely overpriced right now from third-party sellers.
They're
So.
oh, never mind. I would say they burned them so that they
buried them in the
read
desert.
history
Yep,
of
yeah,
it.
They
Alamo
moved the
Gordon, New
Atari
Mexico.
cartridges aside, and they just
They start a little graveyard. They just do it right next to it.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about this other than I'm curious. Maybe Seth's theory is like legit, and that's why they haven't announced anything yet. That I mean, honestly, that's the only way that it makes sense to me, because kind of what Janet's saying, this doesn't. Why? Like, be more organized. I don't understand.
It's September.
It's September. But actually we can wrap out now, but before we go, I'm going to do my favorite thing, which is, how much do you think the Xbox Series S is? I know, Seth, you kind of already said it, but
I think it's $299. I think that's
$299.
what their plan is, to like come out fighting for this generation, because price, in spite of what everybody says, price is the number one determining factor of what consoles people buy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that money, that green. Oh God, Sydney, what's happening? I guess
I'm
out
the
here.
old one here.
Janet, without knowing exactly what the Xbox Series S is, if you want to make a guess of what it is as well, feel free. But how much do you think it'll cost?
I'm gonna say, oh gosh, I have no idea. $299 is good, but that's boring. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say $349. That's an awkward number. I don't know. $50 above that.
$349. Okay. And do you think it's just going to be a lesser version of the Xbox Series X?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. Like, that's
but
the
this
only
new
thing
generation versus
yeah,
being
like
a-
I'm curious. What I'm really wondering is, like, is it gonna have a disc drive or not? We already know that PS5 doesn't. That has a SKU that does not have a disc drive. Xbox was the first one to have their discless console. Great name.
Do people
Wonderful
own
to
that?
say.
Nobody owns that. So.
I don't know anybody. I mean, not that I know, like 5 people. Never mind. That's what I can say.
But what was surprising too is that wasn't even cheap. It wasn't even like super cheap or anything compared to like their other models. So I'm curious as to what they're going to do to drive down the price that won't make it also just unappealing. We'll see.
Yeah. Unappealing. Stella, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think it is, and how much do you think it costs?
Honestly, I have no idea, because I just bought my PS4, so I got it used. So I'm not the best with console pricing. Our normal price is usually like $399. Like,
yeah,
is
the
that
last
beats me? I don't remember. I bought my consoles when they came out.
When they launched in 2013, they were both, the PlayStation 4 was $399 and the Xbox was $499, which is why
That's
I have a PlayStation 4. So
Yikes.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. Based off of that, maybe it's $399, but I don't know. Because like before, the Xbox was what, $499?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
It was so expensive. I do remember it being very expensive.
I'm just like, do I really need a console? That's where I'm at right now. I'm just like, I want that graphics card.
Yeah.
Hey, it's half the cost.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not. That's not how math works. It's like
It's near the cost if you're getting both of the consoles, especially if you want to like get that second controller. Because here's the thing: like, we all have been in a situation.
I didn't even think about the controller.
Where you cheap out. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna get the box and literally nothing else. Then you're like, wait, what am I playing? How am I playing this? There's not enough memory. I need this other thing. Like, the console's not just the console price. It's like whatever games you're getting. If you're getting extra peripherals, like, it's a whole thing. I'm just gonna. My boyfriend's also getting the PS5, so I'm just gonna use his other PS5 control. Like, when I need to, I'm just gonna hope he's not playing then, and then I'm just gonna sync them. He doesn't know this yet, but he's on the other side of the screen, so he knows now.
Surprise! Oh, he can't hear me. You're wearing headphones. Wow. I'm not
if he
that
cares,
big of a
he'll be
dunce,
watching, and he will be able to hear you. So
this
we'll
has
find
been
out.
such a rough show in terms of like my mental capacity being translated into a
Honestly,
show.
same.
So
it's okay.
I appreciate all of you for carrying me through this. It has been a true pleasure. We will be back with more news, games, and more. We'll be back with more. We'll be back with news, games, and more tomorrow. Same time, 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks so much for hanging with us, and we'll bring you more news tomorrow. Thank you all lovely panelists, Seth, Stella, and Janet. Bye-bye.